You want to listen to a podcast?
By who?
Georgia GOP Congressman Doug Collins.
How is it?
The greatest thing I have ever heard in my whole life.
I could not believe my ears.
In this house, wherever the rules are disregarded, chaos and mob rule. It has been said today, where is bravery? I'll tell you where bravery is found and courage is found. It's found in this minority who has lived through the last year of nothing but rules being broken, people being put down, questions not being answered. And this majority say, be damned with anything else. We're going to impeach and do whatever we want to do. Why? Because we won an election. I guarantee you, one day you'll be back in the minority and it ain't gonna be that fun. Everybody, welcome back to the podcast. Glad to be with you today. Glad to have James back with us as well. Just a lot going on, and we're going to catch up. This is a big week. We've seen the Hunter Biden verdict came in. We've had the Donald Trump verdict come in. There's been all kinds of things going on in the last little bit. We've been out on the road. We've been traveling a little bit as well. But let's just put these in perspective. Number one, because I haven't had a chance to talk to you about this as far as the Donald Trump verdict. And this is really an issue that nobody should have not expected. Okay, so we're going to talk about the Donald Trump verdict. We're going to talk about the Hunter Biden verdict, which just came out. A lot of different things going on. And then just some general stuff here for your Wednesday. We want to catch you back up. So right after the break, we'll be right back and ready to go. We are experiencing instability at every level. Our government lacks leadership, and Bidenomics has been a disaster. The economy is in a fragile state. Inflation has been a consistent issue. High interest rates have put significant pressure on the real estate market, and there have been major bank failures. And many analysts say a stock market correction is likely overdue. We have global conflicts in Europe and the Middle East that have potential to spread, but gold has soared to record highs even among the tensions. There are so many reasons that Americans should consider investments in gold and silver, and Legacy Precious Metals is the gold standard. I love Legacy Precious Metals because of their zero-hassle, education-first approach. They can help you roll your traditional IRA into a gold IRA or ship metals directly to your house. That's what I do. So go to www.legacypminvestments.com to download their free gold investment guide. And look, I've read it. You need to read it. There's so much valuable information in there. So, friends, now's the time to not roll the dice with your hard-earned money. Find out about the growth potential that gold and precious metals can offer you. Contact Legacy Precious Metals today and tell them that Doug Collins sent you. You might have heard Mike Lindell and MyPillow no longer have the support of the box stores or the shopping channels the way they used to. They've been part of the cancel culture, so they want to pass the savings directly on to you by having a $25 extravaganza. When Mike started MyPillow, it was just one product company. With the help of his dedicated employees, they now have hundreds of products. Some of you may not even know about that. So to get the word out, I want to invite my listeners to check out the $25 extravaganza. 2-pack multi-pillow use MyPillows are just $25. MyPillow sandals, $25. There's 6-pack of towel sets, $25. Brand new 4-pack dish towels. You guessed it, just $25. And for the first time ever, the MyPillows with all new Giza fabric, just $25. All orders over $75 will see free shipping too. This amazing offer won't last long, so go to mypillow.com and use the promo code Collins, that's COLLINS, or call 800-986-3994 today. That's promo code Collins. All right, let's take these and break them down very quickly. The Donald Trump case should have never went to trial for number one. There should never went to jury for number two. And at the end of the day, it was not overly surprising that the jury came back with the guilty verdicts because they were basically railroaded there by the judge and by the prosecutor the entire time. Look, prosecutors, this is what they do, okay? Their job is to say, we need, we got cases, we'll charge you as much as we possibly can charge you, then we'll try to plead you out, or if we take it to trial, we'll just put as much on as we can and convince the jury that you've done it. Okay. Look, prosecutors have a very strong place in our judicial system, but I'm also telling you, prosecutors will abuse that if given the opportunity. And I've just seen it too many times. Sometimes it's not the abuse that you would think of, like corruption or payoff. It's just the simple act of power. Please understand me on the podcast. If you're watching this podcast today or listening to this podcast, prosecutors across this country are the most powerful element in the judicial system. outside of, and I'm going to say a little bit more than a police officer themselves, because number one, the police officer can only arrest. The police officer can't decide to charge, not charge, take a trial, anything else. Police officer can either say, I'm not going to arrest you here, I'm not going to arrest you, or I'm going to arrest you, and if I do, then I have to turn it over. So the prosecutor has a higher ethical standard. A prosecutor's oath is a higher standard than other attorneys practicing in the court. Why? Because they control the power of the state to take away your freedom. Bottom line, end of statement. The judges only act on what the courts have done. There's something to understand. This is why the judge, Marshawn case up in the Trump case was so bad, because the judge seemed to be completely in line and in bed, so to speak, with the prosecution in this case. He allowed them to get away with not actually proving a crime committed. He said, basically, here's the ones that we've talked about. If you find enough of these, then we'll take that as a guilty. You have the prosecution being able to present pretty much anything they wanted to in the case. The defense being limited, even in a very technical trial, such as a federal elections case, in which you're charging that it was used for in election influence, and it was a violation of federal election law, which, by the way, the FEC has said never prosecuted, everything else. These were all misdemeanor charges that had all outrun their statute of limitations. But because they used the trumped up felony charges with this to take the underlying, that's how the prosecutors got to this case. And the judge allowed that to happen. The judge was the one who allowed would sustain objections or deny objections. The judge would determine who would actually get to testify in this case, in just a seemingly shocking turn of events that the defense couldn't even sort of lay their own defense out with the judge not saying this is what they can and cannot talk about, especially when it went to the court. I can understand not putting putting somebody unattached to the trial as a defense witness just to sort of make up crap on the thing. That's not what happened here. The judge said that if this person testifies, they cannot talk about the law. I'm the only one that can talk about the law. The judge is correct in the sense that it is the judge that gives the determination of law as it attaches to the jury instructions. But again, it is sort of unique that the judge would not allow the defense to make a case or an argument about the quote subversive underlying crimes that were supposedly committed here. And then in the actual, jury instructions itself, being able to pick and choose whatever crime they wanted to. Again, it's just frankly sort of mind blowing. So again, Trump case now goes to, they got what they wanted. Look, liberals got what they wanted. Alvin Bragg got what he wanted. He wanted a convicted Donald Trump. That's what they got. They got a convicted Donald Trump. And now I don't think there's very many people in this country who actually believe that this case should be upheld on appeal. In fact, at most appeal, it will be at worst, sent back to retry or others or just downright thrown out altogether because of just the underlying arguments in this case. I don't think this also ends in the New York Supreme Court, although it could. It could end up in the U.S. Supreme Court. Many people, commentators and lawyers are saying there should be a straight appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court, probably not accepted, but could be done in this unusual case because, again, it was basically a non-unanimous jury verdict on the underlying crimes, which they was never proven that any of this was actually done. And then the judge, basically said you could just pick whatever crime that you think was the underlying. And that's just so against our whole judicial makeup, our judicial system of, that you're charged and the prosecution has to prove the elements of the crime. They didn't have to in this case. Now, with Hunter Biden, it's a lot easier. And because Hunter Biden self-admitted, through many written posts, social media posts, other things, that basically he was a drug addict who purchased a firearm. And then they went through the craziness of trying to get rid of the firearm. All this, again, coming down to the fact that the DOJ screwed this case up from get-go. Although I will have to say here, the first attorney says, if you remember, Hunter Biden had the plea deal, the sweetheart plea deal that got blew up by the judge, and then subsequent negotiations fell through because Hunter's attorneys wanted him to have blanket immunity for everything else, which, by the way, the DOJ had already let statute of limitations time limit run out on the more egregious of the tax charges. So when you look at this case, they should have just come back and said, the prosecutor is not going to prosecute Hunter for anything else. Take that deal, and they would have had nothing. Now he is in serious condition of looking at jail time. There are 20,000 people, I've heard the number quoted today, in federal prison today over gun-related crime. There's a big pool there to look, and a lot of them were first offenders who had not had any criminal record, and they're doing incarceration time. So, I mean, this is something that you've got to look at going forward, that there is a serious, I think there's a far greater likelihood of Hunter Biden doing jail time on this charge. And then, of course, next month you got $1.4 million tax charge, which should have been a lot higher, but they slept on the case and let the statute of limitations run out, that he's still got to deal with within the next few weeks. So I think between Donald Trump and Hunter Biden, the one that may or may not go to jail is Hunter Biden. I think Hunter is definitely the one that is definitely more in line to go to jail than Donald Trump is. But again, those are the two cases, Donald Trump and Hunter Biden in this case. And it is sort of ironic. You're hearing this on Wednesday. Yesterday was the verdict on Hunter Biden, is that Joe Biden is now again discussing the roles have been reversed here. Hunter's whole argument was Second Amendment rights, that he could have this gun. Others have agreed with this. They think that there's a possibility that on appeal, given the Supreme Court's recent ruling, Byrne and some of the other decisions, that this could actually be overturned while his father is wanting more and more restrictive gun control. You can't make this up in this country, folks. This is just the way we're going right now. But I want to take a step back, and there's a crazy case down here, back to our wonderful Fulton County judicial system in Georgia. Fonnie Willis, before she became infamous for the Donald Trump and collaborative trials down here, which has now been put on hold, also since the last time we talked, a lot of court cases stuff to catch up on. The Georgia Court of Appeals has stayed the entire case until after their ruling, which could come as late as March of next year. So this case is over for all intents and purposes before the election. They're going to hear the case in October. So again, this case is just shut down. No motions, no nothing. It's all done at this point until this gets cleared up. But in another case, before Fonnie took on Donald Trump, she took after Young Thugg, who is a rapper here in Georgia, and on a vast RECO count. This is the longest criminal trial in the history of the state of Georgia. It's been going on, I think it's 2 years. I may be mistaken, but it's been going on for a long time. This is Fonnie Willis's DA's department actually brought this case. It has had multiple problems and multiple issues, again, with guess who? Fonnie Willis. And looking at this case, though, I bring it up not to highlight, they're still in the middle of this case, and this is not on any of the charges. I'm not going to commentate on any of I've not followed this case as far as the direct charges day to day. But yesterday, something happened that I think everybody on here should go, if you're listening to this, go look this up, the case in Georgia, in which the judge yesterday, let me set the preface of this. Last Friday, a witness who had accepted a deal from the prosecutor's office in exchange for testimony in this case decided they didn't want to testify. They decided to invoke their Fifth Amendment rights. They didn't want to testify, although they had a deal. The judge and the prosecution, of course, was furious because this was the understanding. I'm giving you this deal if you testify in these trials truthfully. The judge sent him on contempt back to jail and saying you're going to spend time over the weekend and think about it. Because you already explained it. Again, most of this up until this point, pretty common practice. Judge Glanville holds him in contempt based on the unwillingness to fulfill the agreement that he had with the district attorney's office. Come Monday in Georgia, this past Monday, the case comes back. The same witness is back up who's decided now that they want to testify. And the judge brings him back out. The Brian Steele, who is the attorney in this case, the defense attorney of record in this case, finds out that the judge, the sworn witness, and the prosecution met in the judge's chambers on Monday morning and discussed his testimony and the threats of what would happen if he did not testify. Again, I can't make this up. Ex parte communication with the judge of a sworn witness with the prosecutor in the room threatening this gentleman with what could possibly be years of incarceration if he did not tell the truth. Brian Steele, the defense attorney, found out about this on Monday in the courtroom. He challenged and questioned the court, the judge, Glanville in this case, on why he was left out, why he wasn't represented, why this ever happened. Instead of the judge admitting the mistake, which is an egregious error that should have been resulted in a mistrial at that moment, the judge begins to get upset with Brian Steele, the defense attorney, and asks, how did you find out about this meeting? Well, of course, the attorney Steele is not going to tell him. I mean, and if he found out from a client or found out from someone, then he's confidentially bound that he can't talk about. So again, he says again, I'm not going to say how I heard about this, but let's get back to the real issue. The real issue is you, the prosecution, and the witness who was sworn already in this case met ex parte in your chambers, and you did not tell me at all. This drags on back and forth. Glanville holds him in contempt for not telling him how he found out about a unlawful meeting to start with. Now think about this, folks. I'm trying to lay this out here. You can't make this crap up. Holds Steele in contempt, has him arrested. Even the sheriff's deputy tried to get some of the notes off of his desk, which again is so far out of the realm of legality and ethics and everything else you want to pour on here. Puts him in jail. I mean, the defense bar in Georgia has been livid all week about this. Other judges, I have spoke to other Superior Court judges, and the first statement is this judge needs to be disbarred. This judge needs to be removed from the bench completely. If you read the order in which he sent Brian Steele to jail with, the contempt order, it looks like it was written by a non-lawyer in high school. It's just terrible. And this is what you see in the Fulton County Courthouse. This is what's happening. So any of you who got your introduction to the Fulton County Courthouse in the Trump trial, all you got to do is wait for Fonnie Willis in another case, very high-profile case that's going on in Georgia, and you see this going on with the judge and the prosecutor meeting ex parte with a sworn witness without letting the defense know. Then he removes Steele from the courtroom, tells the co-counsel that he has to sit in for Steele. The co-counsel said, I'm not prepared to do that. He said, it doesn't matter. You defend the client anyway. Steele makes it a point for a motion for mistrial and basically says, you're taking his counsel away. He does not represent it. This is not right. It doesn't matter. They sent him off anyway. Folks, we've got to get back. On these cases, they've got to be heard correctly. And then look, I've laid out Trump case. I've laid out this rapper case in Atlanta, and I've also laid out Hunter Biden cases. Notice the problematic part here. In all three cases, in my personal opinion, you have prosecutors acting badly. And they've been fights in the Atlanta case, the rapper case, been back and forth with this judge to start with. The DA, Assistant DA Hilton, has been constantly back and forth. It looks like an episode of Jerry Springer at times in that courtroom. And to have the prosecution bring a sworn witness into the judge's office and nobody thought it was anything wrong with and not tell the defense attorney is just repugnant. In the Hunter Biden case, you have the DOJ who allowed cases that didn't bring any foreign agent cases of him representing foreign entities, didn't bring any of those cases, didn't bring any of the cases that they let lapse on taxes of upwards of upwards of $14 million in taxes that they let lapse that they can't bring the charges on. I guess unless you're Alvin Bragg in New York and you try to find some case and then tack it onto it. And they get him on this gun count, and then they're going to charge a much smaller $1.4 million tax case that is coming up in a few weeks. And then in the Donald Trump case, you have Alvin Bragg who said that I'm going to get Donald Trump, who ran on getting Donald Trump, who made up a crime, multiple crimes it appears, to say you can just charge him with whatever you want to charge, and this is a felony that we're going to get a conviction on. All three cases had rogue prosecutors. Two of the three cases have judges that are unfit to serve, in my opinion, based on legal precedent and legal understanding and the code of ethics. So we have a justice system in trouble. And the Democrats now, because Hunter Biden was found guilty, are trying to say this shows that justice is fair and that everything is equal. No, it doesn't. You can't ignore what happened in that Trump courtroom. You can't ignore what's happening in Atlanta when you have a defense attorney who stands up for his client and the Constitution and the Code of Ethics of State and gets put in jail for it. You can't have a prosecutor in a federal case allow cases to go cold where they can't charge it, don't charge some of the main cases, and go after small offenses that they can basically have from the defendant who's admitted to. And judges allow this to go on. So, folks, we're not solving what we've got here. We've got to get back to prosecutors who live within the law, who basically prosecute crimes that are brought to them. They don't make up crimes and go find them. You got to get back to a process in which, the police officers are respected and they can do their job. And you got to go back to a courtroom in which a judge is the arbiter of the law, not the proponent with putting fingers or thumbs on the scale. That's where we're at in this country right now. If you don't believe it, why I think some of the polling on the presidential race with Trump and Biden are so different is people are beginning to feel the sympathetic. If they've ever been through the judicial system, they feel like Donald Trump. They feel like that they have not had a fair shake. And unfortunately, as a jurist, as a lawyer, one who used to practice in the courts, this is just disturbing because, those of us who believe that the court system is the place that you find fairness, that you find justice, that you can find the truth. We're seeing this now to where that is just completely off the table. So, again, we're going to probably get into this a little bit more, but I just had to share those 3 examples of court cases that are out there right now. 2 have been decided. 1 is in the process. But these cases of rogue prosecutors and judges who are in the pockets of prosecutors or they're just unfit for service is got to cause all of us in this country, Republican, Democrat, Independent, doesn't matter. We've got to get back to a country in which the judicial system is actually respected, needed, and looked up to. We don't have that. We don't have a system of laws in this country, and everybody gets away with whatever they want to. That's it for the Doug Collins Podcast. Glad to have you on board. For new listeners, thanks for being a part. Share this podcast with your friends. All you got to do is hit that share button. You can share it, send them a link, hit subscribe so that you make sure that you hear us every single time we're on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. This Friday, we're back at it. James Ship and I, Friday's Finest. Looking forward to seeing you on that one. Until then, go out and have a great day.